Well, ahead of the general elections, the Gandhi San attacked the Modi Sarkar for hoodwinking and betraying the poor. As an example, he claimed that only billionaires and superstars were invited for the Pran Pratishtha, while the poor, farmers, labourers were all kept away. But do the numbers on the ground bear his contention that poor are being looted and cheated? The latest consumer expenditure survey shows that that poverty has come down to 5% in India and that people are becoming prosperous both in rural and urban areas, citing the National Sample Survey Office data. Niti Aayog CEO in fact said household consumption in 2022-2023 shows per capita monthly expenditures more than doubled as compared to 2011-12. He also claims that this shows how successful poverty elevation measures have been in India. So that's the latest coming in. With regards to the NSSO data, Meghna joins us with more as we've broken down the important aspects of what this survey essentially has highlighted. Meghna, over to you.
Well, thank you, Prithvi. Let's quickly tell you what exactly it is that the NSSO data has said. It says that the per capita monthly household expenditure has more than doubled since 2011-2012. So within one decade. It also goes on to have other important statistics that we are going to show you here in the graphics. We are going to press a continue and show you the rest of the data as well. One of the things that it has talked about, of course, is the fact that the poverty levels of India now have gone to below 5%. We are going to show you the rest of the data. Back to you, Prithvi. We'll come back with more.
So the most recent consumer expenditure survey revealing significant decline in poverty to 5% nationwide. This is very, very essential, especially given the kind of allegations that the Congress party has been hurling at the BJP as well. Thank you for that, Meghna. Let me quickly take in a word from Pragya as well. Pragya, put these figures in perspective for us. Highlight for us what this particular survey, the NSSO data, says, because it comes at a time that we're very close to 2024 elections, and we've seen how issues not just related to inflation and unemployment are being raised by the Congress party and several in the opposition against the BJP and what they've been able to do, but also poverty in the country.
Well, Christine, absolutely you are right. And NSSO survey aim is to show how much poverty has gone down. The CEO of Niti Aayog has said that it has come down to 5%, which is an exemplary feat if you compare it with 2011-2012 data. They are saying that the household consumption expenditure has doubled in this particular decade in 2022-2023. And if you look at the consumption, there are various categories that have been given. The object is to show how rural consumption is increased and how urban consumption has increased. And one of the very good news that has come out of this survey is that the rural consumption has also increased in a way which shows that they are also almost at par with consumption of the urban areas. There are 20 categories.
So the Niti Aayog CEO essentially highlighting that both rural and urban areas are increasing, or rather experiencing increased prosperity. Meghna, over to you once again. Please pick out those figures for us.
Yes, absolutely. The first thing it says that the poverty has come down to below 5%. One important indicator is when you compare it with the last decade, the per capita monthly household expenditure has more than doubled since 2011-2012 in the last 10 years. That essentially means per capita increases, means expenditure increases because there is more money and cash which is available for people to spend. Also, it has other indicators such as the per capita monthly expenditure, which has now gone up to 6,459 rupees in the urban areas. In rural areas also, we have those figures. Also, per capita monthly expenditure of 0 to 5% fractile class. Now, this is important because as per the data, this is the only class where there is still poverty left. In that class, it is about 2,001 rupees in the urban areas. In the rural areas also, a similar kind of trend has been seen, similar numbers in urban as well as rural. But what's interesting is that the gap between rural and urban area has now decreased. It used to be 84% 10 years back. Now it's come down from 84 to 71. Essentially, the disparities between the rural and the urban areas are now slowly reducing. Slowly, but surely reducing. And that's an important figure for us to watch out for. The increase in consumption of rural and urban has been about 2.5 times. That's also an important indicator for us to see how there seems to be, at least that's what the BJP has also said, that it is the Viksit Bharat Abhiyan where there is going to be Sabka Saath, development for all. Back to you.
All right. Many thanks for that, Meghna. Niti Aayog CEO, while talking about this particular data, Pragya, also talking about the consumer expenditure survey, how it reflects the success of poverty elevation measures taken by the government. And that's something that the government has also essentially highlighted the last few months. It's been putting out the data for everyone in the country. If we talk about, the government's financial records as well, those two did, in a sense, reveal, where our economy stands, and especially with regards to the consumer expenditure digits that are very, very essential to, the poverty levels in the country.
Absolutely, and the government has been time and again claiming that many of the, even the number runs in crores when it comes to the people who have taken out of the poverty level. And this is one claim that government has been making time and again whenever the opposition attacks it. And this NSSO survey reinforced that claim, saying that poverty in fact has declined. In fact, there are very few people that have left in the poverty class. And not just that, they have also shown where the consumption is leading to. When you compare rural and urban, you also have to compare what kind of consumption they are doing. So most of the survey also shows that the consumption on cereals and wheat food has gone down. In fact, that would mean it could be interpreted in a way that they are spending more on other items, on luxurious items. That means that the level of livelihood has increased and has bettered compared to the last time also. So all these, the distribution in various categories of these people, when it comes to this survey, it shows that people are now spending more on better life, on better, having better sort of facilities for them, and not just only food. And when you say that you have improved a situation where your life has improved, it does not mean that you have ample food to eat, you have a house to live. You also have other facilities that you need to have a better life in the country. So poverty definitely has gone down. Now, the NSSO survey also claims that the livelihood of the people has now also improving, especially in the rural areas and also in the urban areas, and the gap between urban and rural areas.
Okay, all right. Let's take in a word from an expert economist, P.K. Basu, also joining us on the phone line. Mr. Basu, NSSO releasing the latest data on household consumer expenditure, which indicates that India's poverty level has fallen below 5% and people are becoming more and more prosperous, both in rural and urban areas. How do you look at these figures, sir? Because, the Niti Aayog CEO has also been quoting these figures to talk about the economic affairs of the country, especially with regards to the poverty levels.
Yes, I think the data is consistent with what one can observe. There clearly is a substantial decline in the rates of poverty in the country because the economy is growing strongly. And as the economy grows, people's livelihoods improve, their consumption patterns improve. I think the striking feature is that food as a proportion of total consumption is declining both in rural and in urban areas, and the decline in rural areas is particularly stark. And typically, what happens in any country, as people become more prosperous, the proportion of their consumption basket that is devoted to food declines, and particularly the proportion devoted to cereals declines. So that is reflected in this data, that we are seeing levels of prosperity increase across both rural and urban areas, and as a result, poverty is declining. And I think one of the other features is going to be that this survey will result in a recalibration of the consumer price index. The consumer price index has a very high weightage for food, and that will clearly need to decline.
And what do you make, Mr. Basu, of the jump? Because the per capita monthly household expenditure more than doubling in 22-23 as compared to 2011-12, which again reflects the rising level of prosperity in the country. But, this clear shift that we're witnessing, more than double the digits, what does this really tell us? And how much of an incline are we seeing with that regards?
Well, if you look at our growth rates, the growth rates are close to 7% average over the past decade or so. So if you grow at 7% a year, then incomes will double every 10 years. I mean, that is the normal state of affairs. If incomes double, then normally consumption will also double. And consumption, of course, is not looked at in nominal terms, but in the actual amount of goods, goods and services in the consumption basket. And so the volume of consumption essentially has increased, has doubled over that period, which is reflective of the rapid growth of the economy and the impact of that flowing through to consumption.
Yes.
And therefore, as consumption improves, as people have access to more food and other consumer goods and services, their levels of welfare improve.
Okay, and if we talk about this data, Mr. Basu, the survey results are based on data collected from 1.55 lakh rural households and 1.07 lakh urban households as well. But thank you so much for simplifying this for our viewers and joining us on the phone line, Mr. Basu. The BJP and its allies, of course, say that this shows that Prime Minister Modi's pro-poor policies are now ushering India towards Viksit Bharat. Listen in.
देश के प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का स्वागत करता हूं मैं। उन्होंने गरीबों के हित के अंदर जितनी भी योजनाएं बनाई हैं और देश के संसाधन गरीबों के लिए लग रहे हैं, उसी का परिणाम है 5% गरीबी रेखा से लोग नीचे आए हैं और साथ साथ आज 25 करोड़ लोगों को गरीबी रेखा से ऊपर उठाने का काम सरकार ने किया है। वे वो धन्यवाद के पात्र हैं और सरकार समर्पित भाव से देश के 5 जो विकसित भारत के लिए और तीसरी अर्थव्यवस्था के लिए चल रही है, इसमें सभी लोगों का योगदान मिलने वाला है।
पूरा का पूरा सर्वे ग्रामीण और शहरी क्षेत्र में लोगों की क्रय शक्ति बढ़ी है। स्पष्ट है कि अगर व्यक्ति सामग्रियों को खरीदने की स्थिति में है तो फिर उनकी हालात, उनकी जो स्थिति है उसमें पहले से बदलाव आया है और ये निष्कर्ष निसंदेह ये संकेत देता है कि गरीबी के जो आंकड़े हैं उसमें एक गुणात्मक बदलाव दिखने लगा है।
The BJP, of course, citing this in terms of what is being said by several Congress leaders in the recent past. Let's also remind you, Rahul Gandhi very recently on 16th of February had claimed during his Bharat Jodo Nyaya Yatra that the poor are being looted in the name of Ram.
आप मुझे बताओ, राम मंदिर का इनॉग्रेशन हुआ, देखा आपने? उसमें आपने एक गरीब आदमी देखा? एक देखा आपने? उसमें मुझे अमिताभ बच्चन दिखा, ऐश्वर्या राय दिखी, अदानी दिखा, अंबानी दिखा, सारे के सारे बिजनेस वाले दिखे। मुझे एक गरीब बंदा उसमें नहीं दिखा, एक किसान नहीं दिखा, एक मजदूर नहीं दिखा, एक बेरोजगार नहीं दिखा, एक छोटा दुकानदार नहीं दिखा, एक चाय वाला नहीं दिखा और सारे के सारे जो अरबपति हैं वो दिखे। भाइयों, ये 74% जो है ना लोग, और इसमें आप 2-3%, 4%, 5% जनरल कास्ट के गरीब लोगों को जोड़ दो, इनका इस देश में कुछ नहीं बचा। इनको बस या थाली बजानी है या मोबाइल फोन दिखाना है, घंटा बजाना है, ताली बजानी है और भूखा मरना है।
And despite the NSSO data, the opposition tries to push the poverty narrative. Here are more reactions coming in.
इस प्रकार आबादी बढ़ी है और जिस प्रकार से खाई बढ़ी है, आप मत भूलिए कि जो अमीर और गरीब की खाई है वो लगातार बढ़ती चली जा रही है। और गरीबी की परिभाषा क्या है? क्या वो ग्लोबल परिभाषा है या हम लोगों ने नई उसमें परिभाषित उसको किया है? और मैं मानता हूं कि इस देश में जो संसाधन है, गांव और शहर की जो खाई वो बढ़ गई है। जो अमीर थे वो इतने अमीर हो गए कि अब उसकी कोई हद नहीं है और जो गरीब थे वो लगातार पिछड़ते चले जा रहे हैं। उसकी चिंता हम लोगों को।
देखिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी और केंद्र सरकार से हम पूछना चाहते हैं कि नरेंद्र मोदी जी जब शपथ लिए थे 2014 में, तो देश में गरीबी रेखा से नीचे वाले लोग 45 करोड़ थे, आज 80 करोड़ से ऊपर है। और जिस पर गौरवान्वित महसूस करते हैं प्रधानमंत्री जी, तो 80 करोड़ संख्या कैसे बढ़ी? जब आपके अनुसार संख्या 5% घटी तो ये 80 करोड़ कहाँ से आ गए? इसका मतलब है कि जो एनडीए का मतलब होता है नो डाटा अलायंस,